Jason, you're unmuted and ready to go.
All right, good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming to the public information session for the new aggregation program. I'm pleasantly surprised by the turnout, better than the select board meeting. We are here to answer all your questions, actually. Mark and Joe Capadona, and Denise, I forgot the last. Allard are here from Colonial Power Group. They are going to be the organization that's going to be managing the plan right now, and they're going to explain everything that we're going to need to know down the road. Some folks are going to have asked how we got here. So last year when I came on the select, it's been last year, I think. Yeah. It's already been almost 2 years. When I first came on the select board, it was brought to my attention that, it was presented to me as that you can save money by going through Eversource. So after doing a lot of research, I was finally steered in the right way. West Springfield has been doing this program for several years now. I talked with their, I forget, facilities manager, whatever they call the gentleman over there. And he told me to reach out to Colonial, and I reached out to Mark and got some information on the plan, and for those who aren't familiar with the way it's structured, it's basically designed so the more residents that combine into it, it gives us a plan to, I call it the Walmart plan almost. The more you can buy in, the cheaper the rates can go. And once I got affiliated with Mark and the folks from Colonial Power Group, we were at the Mass Municipal Conference. They actually had a meeting, a webinar at the event that explained everything. And really, as I presented this all along, it's kind of, this is a no-brainer. You don't have to opt into it. Mark and Joe and Denise are going to explain everything, how it works. But we got to this point where once this was brought forward, I brought it forward as a warrant article. And it was put on the annual town. There's already been 4, I can't remember where they all are. Annual town meeting to come forward. It was voted in to be implemented, and that's where we are today. The local adoption, that was where it started after all the discussion for town meeting vote, and then the certified minutes of the vote. That went down to Boston to certify that. We hired Miss Beth Greenblatt from Beacon. Beth, can you hear me? Beacon Power, is it Power Solution? Yeah, Beacon Power Solution. She's been our town consultant. She works with the town on a lot of our power implementation programs in the green stuff. And the plan was presented to us as the select board to go over, and we're to the point now where this plan is here for the public to ask questions and get answers. There's a public comment session that's going to be going on from, it started the 24th of January and ends February 27th.
Yep.
At that point, everybody's comments are going to be taken into consideration. We're going to present them through Beth and Mark and Joe and Denise, as well as through us. And if there are things that need to be addressed, that the folks really think they want, well, we're going to see how we can implement them, or if we can implement them. On a good note, I was just talking with Mark and Joe and Denise. This plan started, when was aggregation initially started?
The original legislation started in 1997. The Deregulation Act started in 1997.
So it was started out east, I forget which town, they did it. It kind of
Walker
worked,
was the first town.
and then it didn't work, and then it started back up, and then the Cape did their collaborative, and it's just kind of picked up from there. Again, I after doing all the research, I call it a no-brainer, because really there's no, you can opt in, you can opt out, you don't have to stay in. And generally, when we had that meeting in Boston, the gentleman there that from Marlboro, was it?
Yes,
Yeah,
Michael.
he explained it. I think in the, how many years they've been doing it, they've had two periods of time where they're,
Since 2007, they've had
the
power.
rate was not lower than what was being offered by Eversource or Enstar.
National Grid for them, the National Grid community.
Not installed.
Yep.
So that's where we are. Once we go through this, it will get sent out to, a hard copy of the town clerk will be sent out for the Department of Public Utilities filing. And what I was going to say that's a good news is, they just had a big meeting, because this process went from when it initially started to a 6 to 8 month process. Then what finally kind of averaging to about a year. To when we were looking into this and this plan got approved at town meeting. It was 24 months was a possibility because of. We're not exactly sure,
Well,
but it was Boston, so that explains some of it. But now, as of just, when was the meeting?
so we're actually in discussions right now about making that change, and the department is trying to get orders out now within 3 to 4 months in that range. That's what they're talking about. Again, we haven't seen that happen yet, but the days where they're talking about somewhere between 90 and 120 days for an order. Otherwise known as an approval.
So after we go through this portion of it, the select board will vote for the acceptance, and then there'll be certified minutes for the vote. State approvals come next. It'll go to the Department of Energy, Department of Energy Regulation, DOER.
The Department of Energy Resources first, just for a 15-minute consultation.
They'll coordinate with Colonial, and then a conference call with us. DPU filing, Department of Public Utilities, again, another coordination. The town posts will go up, Colonial Power Grid. Well, I'm just gonna, at this point, turn it over to them, because they're gonna be able to explain it better and more thorough than I can. And they're the experts.
Mark Capadona, Colonial Power, 5 Mount Royal Ave.
Joseph Capadona, Colonial Power Group, 5 Mount Royal Ave.
Denise Allard, also from Colonial Power Group.
So we're here tonight to discuss the town's municipal aggregation program. What does it mean to you? Tonight, what I want you to get out of this is it's going to bring you choice that you otherwise wouldn't have had. You've experienced some very rough roads over the last couple of winters. So what the town is saying, we're going to bring you a choice. But the main thing that everyone has to know that's here tonight is this program is an opt-out municipal aggregation. So what does that actually mean? So that means that everyone that's on Eversource's basic service, once the town makes a choice, would be mailed to. If you don't do anything, you'd be enrolled in the program. So you have to opt out. There's no fees and there's no penalties. And the good news is if you opt out, you can always get back in. So that's the overriding issue here now. Nothing removes you from your choice. It just brings you a choice that you haven't had in the past. And the way the mechanism works is an opt-out. I'm going to just run through the process quickly, and then we'll just get into some questions. So where we are today, past town meeting, the next was create a plan. We've created a plan, and that plan is being hung. That plan itself I consider that like the Constitution. Just tells who does what. It really is not going to answer the questions that you're going to have. I'm going to discuss those things now. So this plan will be hung, needs to be hung for 30 days. After it's hung and we've answered everyone's questions, if anything comes in writing, or if somebody wanted to call and ask a question, we'll answer all those questions. Once done, the select board would need to vote on it. Once done, as Jason mentioned, we'd go on to the DOER and then we'd file a plan with the DPU. I'm optimistic if we were to file a plan with the department, we would get an order this year, which is light speed for the department. I know only because he was being kind. It has been 2 or 3 years waiting for an aggregation plan that literally shouldn't take them, 90 days. All that being said, what exactly is going to happen once the town gets an approval? Once the town gets an approval, we'll bring them some indicative pricing. There's some choices that the town, and us, we're going to be there the whole time, educating, so forth. We'll show them all of these prices. They're going to make a choice on some prices. Maybe there'll be something with some greens, a meats, or maybe a little bit less green. Think of it this way, maybe there'll be something with a little green, a lot of green, and maybe none. Low price, medium, and high for everyone here. Before the program ever starts, There's a mailing that goes out to each and every customer that's on basic service in Eversource. That mailing will, it will also be on the select board. We're gonna have information sessions and all of that. Once you get that, you're gonna have a choice to make. Do I wish to participate or not? It will have right on there what the basic service rate is at that time, and then your rate. Here's where things get a little bit difficult. That rate could be 12 months, could be 24 months, could be 36 months. The rate for Eversource will only be 6 months. We only know Eversource's rates every 6 months. And those have just slightly changed starting last year. So now the rate changes for you if you're on Eversource basic service in August and again in February. Those will be the times that those rates change. It's a choice that you're going to have to make. If you do nothing, you'll be enrolled in the program. We wouldn't start the program, just so you know, with rates above. Meaning if the rate was above, we wouldn't start the program. So we're gonna wait. We get to Monday morning quarterback, we'll know what the basic service rate is, we'll know where the market is, and that's when we're gonna start the program. What does it mean to you? If you decide to stay, very simple. You can go online and opt out. You can sign the card, your self-addressed stamped envelope, put it right in the mail and you're out of the program. It doesn't mean that you're always out, but at the start, you could be out. You could also make a phone call to get out of the program. No one is trying to, this is not third-party supply. This is a town program run by the town. We're not trying to make anyone be in the program. The reason it's opt-out is, and I'll explain a little bit of electricity. If the supplier said, hey, I'm willing to give you a price, but how would they know how many people were going to opt into the program? So over time, we've been able to create what we call a load profile, right? So we know that about somewhere between 5 and 7% of the customers will opt out so that they can give you a price for energy for all the customers that are on basic service right now, and minus 5 to 7%, and it's a pretty good estimate. And that's why they can give you the best pricing. If it wasn't an opt-out, how would they know how many people that were actually going to sign up? They wouldn't, and they wouldn't be able to give you a good price. And that is the problem. It's not really a problem. It's beneficial for you because it's going to work. It will work out well from a pricing perspective. And it will also work out well from as far as choice is concerned, because over the last couple of winters, you've had one choice: basic service or third-party supply. And third-party supply, this is not me, this is the Attorney General saying that those are shark-infested waters. Be very careful about, contracts that go up after the, a lost leader and things of that nature. So after the program starts, what does it mean to you? Do you need to do anything? The answer is no. All the benefits that you currently, that exist with Eversource are going to stay in place. If the power goes out, who are you gonna call? Eversource. Problem with your bill, you're gonna call Eversource. If there's an issue with your meter, you're gonna call Eversource. Since 1997, Eversource has not been able to generate electricity. They had to sell off all their assets. Shouldn't say since 97, but they had to sell off all their assets shortly thereafter. After doing so, they haven't owned any generation assets. So all they are is a poles and wires company, much like I can look around here. I'm a little older than some. So I remember when Verizon, they're a very similar company. They have poles and they have wires, right? Who your long distance carrier was years ago didn't make a difference. I think everyone does things through a cell phone now, so it's not as prevalent. But years ago, poles and wires company, Eversource, poles and wires. They're not in the electricity business at all. From the electron standpoint, they generate none of it. What they do is go out to bid for you because you haven't made a choice in the marketplace. And what the town's going to do is go out to bid for you, hopefully to bring you a price that might be more stable, lower, and possibly a green option that you haven't been able to make in the past. So it's truly about the choices that you're going to have after this. So we signed up for the program, and the program starts, I should say. You decide not to opt out, and there's a snowstorm and the power goes out. You don't need to do anything different. Eversource is going to come. They have no idea who your supplier is, whether it's Eversource or not. They don't hold it against the community, because the only thing that they get reimbursed for by the department and you and I, the only thing we pay them for is the poles and wires. So they don't know if you have basic service, third-party supply, or Muni Ag. They just come to your house and they'll get the power back on. You have a problem with your bill after that, you're still going to call Eversource. if you get any of your discounts, if someone happens to be on residential assistance or a farm discount or one of those things, that discount still applies. It's still a distribution company discount. There's nothing that changes. This is a simple line item change. When you look at your bill, rather than it saying, right now it says supply and on yours it says generation service and T&D, right? So transmission and distribution. That's the utility charge. This on your generation service is going to have a single line item change. Right now it says basic service, and that's going to say Southwick Ag and whoever that winning supplier might be, Direct Energy, Constellation, so forth and so on. You are only going to pay your bill to Eversource, and then Eversource will take what the top part that's theirs, the bottom part that's the suppliers will take that money and they'll move that down to the supplier. But it doesn't require you to do anything. You'll be automatically enrolled in the program in the product that I call the default product. If you wanted to have a choice and the town chose to have a choice, those choices would be there for you to move up or down or however those choices work out when we get there. I apologize for being a little bit, I don't know what the market's going to be. I don't know what choices the town will make at that time. But I know this, they're going to have the ability to make choices and the term. So depending on where we are, believe it or not, right now, the natural gas market has come down on the 2024, very, very aggressive pricing right now. Unfortunately, 2025 hasn't come down as much, but much lower than it has been. But the nice thing about what the town can do that Eversource can't. So I know what I'm going to say is going to be a little bit controversial. We all assume that Eversource is going out on our behalf to purchase energy. And they're not. Unfortunately, they're prescripted by the Department of Public Utilities to go out and buy 50% of their needs twice a year. So they buy 50% of their needs for 12 months. And then 6 months later, they buy 50% of their needs for 12 months. And those 2 6 months that overlap, that's how we get your basic service price. I just want to explain. Most people think, oh, they're out there making sure that they're getting the best price. Unfortunately, 3 years ago when pricing was at historic lows, they probably wanted to, but they couldn't take advantage of it. So they bought 12 months, 50% of their needs. Nothing different. In the aggregations that we had, we could take advantage of that. We bought as far out in the curve as we could go with the suppliers, and we were able to deliver, 36, 48 months of savings, stability. We can look at the market and do that. Now, when the market went crazy a year and a half ago, 2 years ago now, they bought 12 months of 50% of their needs. We've advised clients that their contracts were up. And we want to kind of hold things as short as we can. And that way there, you're not going to feel the pain for quite as long. So those are some of the advantages we have in the marketplace that the utilities just don't. Advantage aggregation, and I think you've seen that there are, over time, I believe that given the market advantages that exist, meaning the known load, the ability to use the marketplace to your advantage, you will win out from a pricing perspective. Second only to the ability, if the town were looking to do some green things and other people were looking to push some renewables, we certainly can do all of that as well. So that's basically Muni Ag in a nutshell. But I know people, I can see it in people's eyes. They have questions. So please, yes, sir.
I know you can't answer this question in terms of an absolute, but based on your prior experience with other communities, about how much less than the going rate per kilowatt hour is typical in towns in Massachusetts?
So in the last, I'm going to say 24 months, I have seen a premium being put on basic service. So the spread has been a little larger than it has in other times. When we first started, the spread was somewhere probably between 5 and 7%. I'm seeing that actually increase to maybe 15 to 18% over the last couple of winters, just
15 or 18%
less than that is correct. That is correct. Now, not always, depends on when the market is there, but I would say to you on average, yes.
Because right now, natural gas, they're giving it away
Correct.
versus what we end up paying
The bad news for us, and I'm not one or the other, we're at the end of a constrained pipeline. And that's why ISO New England's, so we don't have enough natural gas to create all the electricity we need. So when it gets cold, the only thing we can do is backfill with LNG.
Right.
And this will explain the high price. Well, that LNG doesn't come from the United States. Unfortunately, unless the ship is not only built here, it has to be manned here. Otherwise, the Jones Act doesn't allow that gas to come here. So we go to Trinidad to get our, and the rest of the world. So when Mr. Putin turned off the spigot for everyone, we were literally in a bidding war to get LNG over here. And that's why it just went through the roof. Without it, we just don't have enough capacity when we get 2 and 3 days of cold, which knock on wood, we don't get any more cold days this winter. So that would be a nice thing for us. More questions though, more questions. Yes, ma'am.
Suppose we opt in and this goes through and we have all kinds of plans. The following year, what happens? Do you recommend to the town who they should choose for a supplier? Who does the negotiating with the supplier? And who has the final say?
So it's the town program. The town has all the say. So what we would do is if, I don't know what the first contract would be, but if the first contract was 12 months, as you stated, believe it or not, we'll be in the market. As soon as the contract is signed, we're going to be taking a look at the next, if using that scenario, let's just say 25, I would already, the day the contract signed, I'd be looking at 26 and 27, so that if there was a dip in the market, I could be coming to the town and explaining, hey, we're going to be signing a contract. You probably wouldn't hear about that until a month or two before the program, those rates ended, but they'll just sign another contract. And our job here is to bring them viable options. So we vet all the suppliers, make sure that they're licensed in the state, have the financial capabilities to serve, and so forth. So we'll bring them suppliers that are serving municipal aggregation in Massachusetts.
Okay, so you give those recommendations to the select, to the board.
Yes.
And then who negotiates? Is there any negotiation after that? Or is that a fixed?
So it's normally the low price, but there could be other factors involved. Someone might say, I've had a bad experience with this supplier when they were serving the town buildings. I've had it happen. I would prefer to use someone else. So they get to make the final decision, but there's not a lot of negotiations because it's literally a bid, low price.
It's an RFP type thing.
Okay.
This is what
got
we
it.
want. How much do you sell it to us and you give it to the low bidder?
That is normally the low bidder, but there are times that I've had come up that it's not always a low bidder.
Do the people in the town actually know who the supplier is at that point? Is it on our bill, supplier is?
That is a correct statement. It is on your bill. It will say Southwick Aggregation. I'm making this up, Constellation,
Okay.
Direct Energy, whatever it might be, whoever that winning supplier might be. But more questions for certain.
I got a question.
Yes, great.
Well, what's going on as far as people that have solar or thinking about solar? How does that affect them with this whole thing?
Great question. So that contract again is it's a contract with your distribution company. Nothing will change. You'll still get all your credits. But what you need to know is it really puts pressure on the decision. Just let me explain. Eversource, all the utilities. For you, it's going to be Eversource if you happen to be in Southwick. They always pay basic service for your net metering credit. So I'm going to do both scenarios. Right now, I think the rate is like 15 cents, and let's just say we got 13 cents for the aggregation. Just making that up, 13 cents and 15 cents. So you would be paying 13 cents, but they would be crediting your bill for every kilowatt hour that you used at 15 cents. So you make the extra little vig there. That's what I like to call a win-win. Unfortunately, the knife cuts both ways. So someone with solar, let's just say the summer rate came around. Our rate was still 13, but it came all the way down to 11 for basic service. Now you'd be paying the 13, they'd only be crediting you the 11. So just the opposite would be happening. The rest of it will work identical. Thousands of customers are on aggregation with net metering contracts. There's not a problem with it. You just need to understand that there are some, it's kind of like it's on steroids, right? It's just over accentuated on the win as well as the loss. but just something to think about. The one thing I want you to know is if that situation happens, and we do have, certain people in communities, when it's over, you're gonna know ahead of time, you opt out of the program, go back to basic service, not a problem. The next, say you get to the winter rate and you're now under, you opt back into the program. Again, it's all about the choice and one you haven't had before.
So if the town has a 12-month contract,
Yes,
can an individual get out within the 12 months?
yes,
Okay. So
And
it's not
get
like
back
we
in.
Signed up
that,
for that fixed period.
that is exactly good. You get to make the choice. You can get out and you can get back in. Residential customers, there's no fee and no penalty. I do want to, in case there's anyone here that's on an industrial, a large G3 user, that customer could have a market rate on the way back in. And just let me explain. One customer could use more power, a large industrial customer. Most of them, I'm just going to use the town. I'm just going to use the town as an example. They could be in the aggregation and then decide to get out. The problem is they're such a large user, they could spike what happens to the rate, and that will end up affecting your pricing the next time you go out. So it's one of those things. Large customers have every ability. We'd price them in because they'd be part of the load. They have every ability to leave. On the way back in, the supplier has the right to offer them a now market price.
I also just want to say, if you're gonna come in and go out, you just, right, we don't have smart meters in Massachusetts, so you can only come in and go out on your meter read, right? So normally you get your bill, you look at your bill, your meter read has just happened because you're getting your bill in the mail. If you want to opt in or opt out, that's gonna happen on your next meter read. So you might not see that for 1 to 2 months on your bill because we use our electricity and then we pay for it. So just know that there's a lag. And if you're opting in or opting out right after, too close to your upcoming meter read, the supplier might not be able to get you and it might be on the next meter read. So we like to say 1 or 2 billing cycles for coming or going. Usually when you're going, it's quicker because it's just a drop by the utility, and you're going in, they have to get all your information and it has to sync up with what the utility has on their books. So just be aware it's on your meter read only. You can't, not twice in a month.
Yes,
For Southwick, this is open to all residents and businesses, all businesses.
all businesses. Anyone that's on basic service, if they have a third-party supply, if you've already made a choice in the marketplace, you won't be switched. You won't even receive the mailing. So if you've already made a choice in the marketplace and you're with Direct Energy, we wouldn't get your information. We would only mail to the people that this program could enroll. Excuse me, I'm hopeful in the very near future, we'll be able to mail to those customers that are on there. Currently, the Department of Public Utilities doesn't allow us to. In my opinion, it's not correct. We should be able to notify you that, hey, the town has a program. Here's the rate. This is basic service. You can look at your rate on your bill and make a decision. But currently, we don't get that list. I'm hopeful with this new turn of events at the department that we will be able to get that list to notify everyone. They get a notification, you get an opt-out notice, meaning that if you didn't do anything, you would be switched. They'd just be notified. They'd have to opt into the program.
Are most people with Eversource, or are many of them with these other providers?
On average, it's about 15% of residential customers that are with a third-party supplier in every community. It could have a higher or lower concentration depending on the community.
You're looking at almost 27% of the residents of Southwick not being eligible or.
They would be eligible, but they would not be. That is correct. That is correct, Stan.
That affects the rate.
Well, and I'll say this. Most people think of, excuse me, of the Walmart effect, I'm gonna say.
Way I could put it.
Electricity or commodity, regardless of size, is really the market, right? So if on Tuesday the market is down and it's at, I'm just going to say the price of electricity and all of its components is 11 cents. And then Mr. Putin decides to bomb Poland, let's just say that. And now we're in we have a problem with LNG again. The price 3 weeks from now could be 15 cents. And regardless of my load, that's the price. So I'm going to give you an example, a stark example. So there's a little town north of here. It's called Wendell, Massachusetts. Wendell, Massachusetts had a rate of 36 months of 8.7 cents for 40 months. It was the premier rate in the state. They have about 800,
800, yeah.
about 800 meters. It has to do with the timing they were in the market and their load profile. The city of Boston, also a client. They have as many as, I know they have 215,000 meters. They have a rate of around 11.1 because it's not size. It's when you're in the market. It does have something to do with size because there are certain costs that are spread out that you can spread over a larger amount. But overall, if I'm buying IBM today and the price is 120, and I go to buy it next week and the price is 220, it makes no difference. The market is what's going to set whether I buy 1,000 shares or 10 shares. So I know everyone thinks it's the Walmart, and yes, there are certain costs that, yes, I would say yes. But overall, it's when we're in the market and how often we get a bite at that apple. That's the important thing.
And with this, the cost of your company doing the work that you do will be 1/10 of a penny per kilowatt hour.
That's correct. So to make it easy, to make it easy for everyone here, because I know when I say, oh, it's a mill of 1/10 of a penny. Well, that doesn't mean anything to the average, right? I mean, 1 cent doesn't really. If the price of energy was going to be 10 cents, the price that would show up on your bill would be 10.1 cents. You would just pay your bill as it would go. Eversource would send the money to, I'm making this up, Direct Energy. Direct Energy would then send us a wire for the amount of how many kilowatts times 0.001.
Okay, so it's actually the taxpayer who's paying.
It's
But
no,
it's the customer.
Yeah.
the cost, yes.
I wasn't sure if it came on town taxes or
No,
whatever.
no.
That's,
Only the people participating pay.
okay.
That's all. And that rate, even with the fee in there, is normally below. Yep. Just so that everyone understands, but it is 0.001.
That's the amount some banks are paying on savings accounts.
Well, they shouldn't be any longer, but I believe you're correct. Yeah, yes. They,
There's a bank in Feeding Hill, doing fine, that's how much they pay.
For advertisement,
more questions?
when.
Yes.
we-
Oh,
Go ahead.
Is there a limit to how far out you can buy?
so there isn't a limit for how far we can buy out. But I want to tell you that there's a thing, a piece of energy that is called capacity. And capacity means so that we make a payment to all the generators in ISO New England so that they'll be available when needed. It's called a capacity payment. They have an auction that only goes out 3 years. So normally to get a full baked price, yes, I could only go do about 36 months. But I'm going to tell you, I have done further, and you can go further on the energy piece. We just couldn't tell you exactly what the full price is. But I will tell you, if we get to historic lows again, we'll be buying 5 and 7 years. Whoever will take us out the furthest on the curve, and we'll just fill in the capacity as a pass-through at that point. But the answer is, if you want a fully baked price, 13.275, probably about 36 months is about as far as I can go. But that doesn't mean you can't buy the energy component. And then once the prices of the other ancillary components become available, we can fill those in. So as long as you can, I haven't seen people go longer than 5. 5's about as far as I can see. That's about 60 months, which is a good long time. And we had a lot of very good contracts. And the only thing I want to tell you about great contracts is when you come out, reality hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had another question? Yes.
We set up a municipal utility, we had to do that. How does that function? Does that have any kind of, a board of whatever?
This doesn't require any of that. I'm going to assume that might have been for cable that you set that up. High speed internet, yes. So this won't have anything to do with it. It doesn't have any effect on it either. There's no problem having that and this program. We have lots of communities up in Franklin County with the exact same scenario. More questions?
Just, is the
Yes.
trend toward doing this kind of a consolidation?
So right now, there's about 186 communities that have done it. Out of the 350, 50 of those, or 48 of those are munis. So we're over the halfway point. And I would say, right now the push is so that everyone gets aggregated, so they have another choice other than third-party supply. That is the motion. I'd say was probably another 50 filed, Denise.
Yeah, there's a lot in progress.
And
Same as
like
that
yourself,
one.
same as Southwick. So we're probably around 250, 230, somewhere in that range out of the
Really
300.
Smaller towns?
We have many smaller towns in Southwick. Southwick is, for Western Mass, is a
Good size.
very good sized town. Very good
A lot of
size.
small towns in Berkshire and Franklin County that are aggregated, yeah, small.
Very.
Yeah.
Heading west of you, New Marlboro and Sheffield and all smaller than you, but they're all been aggregated for a while. Yes, very. More questions? Anyone online have their hand up or anything? No. I don't have anything further for you. We do have some FAQs in case anyone wanted to take them with you. Just basic questions that we normally see that come up. If anyone is uncomfortable in this form, wishes to stay after and ask me a question personally, I'm more than happy to stay as long as you need to make sure that you get your question answered. That's what we're here to do tonight. Yes, ma'am. Oh,
Go ahead. When would we get the notices?
so we're in the middle of a process right now. So right now, at the end of the month, the plan will come down. We'll see if there are any questions. I don't expect a lot of questions on the plan. The plan is a little clunky for the average citizen, as I'm saying. It's really a regulatory document. So once that happens, the select board will vote on that. And after that, we'll file with the DOER. Normally within 3 weeks. So we're talking sometime in March, we'll have a meeting with the DOER. And then we're gonna go into, I'm gonna say it's gonna be a black box because I don't know if we're gonna be very fortunate and you'll see something come out in 90 or 120 days. Or we could be in for a long wait. And I'm just,
Or the end of the year?
yeah, that's the real hope here. And I mean that honestly. I think there's a good chance that you will get an order by the end of the year. I do believe
And what
that.
happens is the town will sign a contract for a particular start date, say your November meter reads. And a mailing will go out in like the middle of September roughly, and that gives you a 30-day opt-out window, right? So you'd get the mailing, you'd have time to review the materials, look at the comparison against the basic service rate. And then like Mark said, there's a card in there that you can send back with a posted paid envelope. You can go online, you can make a phone call, but it gives you some time. We'll be having information sessions. You can come in, talk, ask questions, and then you have 30 full days to make a determination if you want to be in for launch. Like Mark said, if you stay in, you can always opt out later, or you can opt out and opt back in later, but you do have a window there. And then the program would actually launch, and with your November meter reads, that when the rate would kick in, you'd go to that rate. You start accruing at that rate for a month, and then the bill after that, right? Because we use and then we bill, you'd see that rate on your bill with what you're saying, Southwick Aggregation and the supplier's name.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You had a question, ma'am?
Yeah, for residents or businesses who might have a third-party supplier now, they may have a contract.
Yes,
Correct.
that's correct.
So they would have to review if they could break that without penalty.
Before they ever,
And they could sign up then when this window opens.
that is a correct statement. They want to make sure there's no fee or penalty to leave their program. And then they'd have to just make a determination whether if there was, whether or not they wanted to or not.
And then when you have some vehicle for them to be able to do that, would you give us some
Absolutely.
cards or something that we can?
Yeah, but we'll give you posting and hard copy information on who to call, how to opt in online. You can always call Colonial Power Group for everything. We can process those requests too, but that will be
We
well
don't wanna
publicized.
exclude those people, but give them a way to
Yes.
know how to get in on it if they want.
Absolutely.
And I'm hopeful, I mean, that we're gonna be able to send them a letter stating, hey, all of this in a
But if you
letter.
can't.
If we cannot, then we're gonna have to do exactly as you mentioned. Exactly.
Absolutely.
And I just want to know if Mark has anything to say.
That's, no, I have everything to say.
He covered it all. Yeah.
I think you did that when you were here.
More, yes, ma'am.
Town accepts this, how many people have to sign in or participate in this?
That's a great question.
And the rates fluctuated by how many people are in the program?
Fantastic question. Just so everyone knows, the town will sign a contract.
No matter what.
Don't, yep, so let me just explain. So Once the town gets an order, we're gonna go out to Eversource and say, hey, give us all the town folk information. Not personal information, we just get you the usage. We put together all of this load data, we create something called the load profile. Send it out to the marketplace and they're gonna bid on that. What the town is saying in the contract, it says, you have the right to serve these customers. The customers can come and go whenever they please. The risk does not sit with the town at all. Let's just say the price was 13 cents, and for whatever reason, the price of, the basic service price had dropped to 6 cents. Everyone gets out of the program. They opt out of the program. Any financial harm to the town? None. Program still goes on for anyone that's still in the program. We cannot break the contract, but every customer has their ability to leave. It's not like we can say the contract ended, because now we broke the contract. But that doesn't mean the town wouldn't be able to say, hey, listen here, these are the prices. This certainly would be on our website, exactly what's there, so that you could always make an educated decision. But there's no, whether there's one customer or 11,000 customers, the price is the price, period, for that term. Yes,
And then the next time you go to bid, you're just working with load data, not rate or number of participating.
well, we would be sending out who was still participating.
which
At that
would be a
time.
very Small number.
That's correct, but knowing that these customers could opt in. That is correct.
So you use the history as well as the current.
Yes, well, believe it or not, we give them 24 months.
Okay,
Yep,
that's-
yep.
Sounds great.
It's a fantastic question.
And when the town does sign a second contract or a third contract, just so everybody knows, if you're currently enrolled, you'll get automatically transferred over to that new contract, right? You're not gonna get another letter, you don't have to make another choice. You will get a, notification in the mail saying that you're being moved over automatically. You can certainly still opt out, but it's gonna be an automatic move over to that new supplier, it'll just continue, just be maybe a new supplier, it'll be a new rate, a new term, but you're enrolled, you'll get automatically moved over. So no heavy lift on your part. You can just stay in the
Just to be
program.
waitress in the
Correct.
kitchen.
What?
More questions? I guess everyone can go home and get dinner now.
Thank you.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's excellent.
Mr. Perona, you closing this?
Yeah, if everybody's all set and there's nobody online that has any questions, we'll call it a night. Thank you all for coming, and
Oh, we
Mark,
appreciate
Joe,
it.
Denise, thank you for coming and
Thank you.
explaining. Again, everybody, there's the public comment period. Any questions, get them out there and then we can put them past the folks and get your concerns taken care of.
I just want to leave the box here and I'll just put